On the night of February 1st, 1959, 9 hikers fled their tent into a blizzard. They left behind their boots, their coats, and every chance of survival. No one has ever explained why. The Dyatlov Pass incident is one of the most haunting mysteries of the 20th century. 9 experienced Soviet trekkers died in a way that defies rational explanation. I want to tell you exactly what happened on that frozen mountain slope, what the investigators found, and why the truth might be stranger than any theory you have heard. The group assembled in the city of Sverdlovsk in late January. Most of them were students at the Ural Polytechnical Institute. Their leader was a 23-year-old engineer named Igor Dyatlov. He knew these mountains better than almost anyone. He had led expeditions through the northern Urals for years. This trek would earn the group a Grade 3 certification, the highest level in Soviet hiking. The route would take them through subarctic wilderness for 16 days. They would cover more than 300 kilometers on skis. The final destination was a settlement called Defies, but they never arrived. The group consisted of 8 men and 2 women. One man, Yuri Yudin, turned back on January 28th with knee pain and a fever. He would be the only survivor. The remaining 9 pressed deeper into the frozen wilderness. Their last known camp sat on the slope of a mountain the Mansi people called Kholat Syakhl. In English, that name means dead mountain. The temperature that night dropped below minus 30 degrees Celsius. The wind howled across the treeless slope with nothing to slow it down. The skiers pitched a single large tent cut into the snow for insulation. Something happened after they went to sleep. Something that made 9 experienced hikers slice through their own tent wall from the inside. Something that sent them running into a deadly storm in their underwear. But that is not what made this extraordinary. The searchers found the tent on February 26th. It stood partially collapsed on the slope, its canvas walls slashed open from within. Boots lined up neatly on one side. Jackets packed carefully beside the sleeping bags. Inside the tent, plates sat on the stove with unfinished dinner. A diary lay open to the last entry Dyatlov ever wrote. A camera still held film that would later be developed. But the hikers were gone. Footprints led away from the tent down the slope. 8 or 9 sets of tracks heading toward the distant tree line. The bare footprints were frozen into the surface of the snow. The searchers followed these tracks for more than a kilometer. They disappeared into the darkness of the cedar forest below. What they found there was the beginning of a nightmare. Beneath a tall Siberian cedar tree, they discovered the remains of a small fire. Charred branches showed someone had tried desperately to stay warm. Beside the dying embers lay the first 2 bodies, Yuri Krivonishenko and Yuri Doroshenko. Their bodies were stripped almost completely naked. Both men died from hypothermia within minutes of reaching the tree. What happened next changed everything. The bark of the cedar tree was broken away at a height of 5 meters. Someone had climbed that tree in complete darkness. Someone had broken off branches while freezing to death. Why would a dying man climb a tree in a blizzard? The next 3 bodies were found scattered along the slope between the cedar and the tent. Igor Dyatlov himself, Zenaida Kolmogorova, Rustem Slobodin. They had all died trying to return to the tent. They froze to death on the climb back up. Their bodies showed defensive wounds on their hands and faces, as if they had fought something unseen. And then came the discovery no one was prepared for. The final 4 hikers were not discovered until May. Their bodies lay buried under 15 feet of packed snow in a ravine deeper in the forest. The melting spring runoff finally revealed them. What the medical examiner found still cannot be fully explained. Lyudmila Dubinina had massive chest fractures. Her ribs were broken with a force comparable to a car crash at high speed. Her tongue was missing. Her eyes were gone. Her lips had been torn away. Semyon Zolotaryov, the oldest member at 38, had the same chest fractures. His eyes were also missing from their sockets. His body showed deep defensive wounds across his knuckles. Nikolai Thibault Brignol's skull was crushed inward with tremendous force. The medical examiner compared the damage to being hit by a speeding vehicle. Yet the skin on his head showed no cuts or external wounds at all. Alexander Kolovatov died from hypothermia with his neck broken. His body was found apart from the others near the edge of the ravine. Like the rest, he was severely underdressed for the cold. 4 bodies in a ravine. 3 with catastrophic internal injuries. No external wounds anywhere on their skin. No signs of a struggle with another person. The snow around them was undisturbed by any avalanche or landslide. The Soviet investigation lasted more than 3 months. The final report stated, the hikers died of a compelling natural force they could not overcome. Then the case was closed forever. The area was sealed off for 3 years. Clothing from some of the hikers was tested and showed measurable traces of radiation. The levels were low, but confirmed by multiple labs. The source has never been identified. The last photographs on their cameras show strange images taken in the dark. Blurry orbs of light hover above the distant treetops. Some researchers believe these were Soviet missile tests or parachute flares. Other photographs reveal nothing unusual at all. The hikers posed smiling beside their skis in the bright snow. They drank tea from metal cups around a portable stove. They wrote in their journals about the cold and the aching beauty of the open landscape. I have studied every detail of this case for years. And I believe the answer is both simpler and more terrifying than any conspiracy theory ever proposed. Scientists from Switzerland and Russia built a physical model of the Dyatlov tent site. They tested it with advanced snow physics simulations. Their findings changed everything. The slope where the hikers camped was not steep enough for a traditional avalanche, but it was steep enough for something called a delayed slab avalanche. Here's how it works. When the hikers cut a flat platform into the snow for their tent, they weakened the snowpack above them. The wind that night kept packing more snow onto that weakened slab. The slab held for hours. Then sometime after midnight, it broke loose from the slope. A slab of hard, wind-packed snow slid down onto the tent in total darkness. It may have weighed several tons. It moved slowly down the incline. It did not bury them completely, but it pinned them inside their tent. The hikers could not find their boots or coats in the blackness. They could not breathe under the pressing weight of frozen snow. They cut through the tent wall and fled into the open air. This explains why they left everything behind. It explains the slashed tent walls. It explains the barefoot tracks frozen into the snow. It explains why experienced mountaineers made such a catastrophic decision. The crushing injuries to the 4 in the ravine happened later. They dug a snow shelter to survive the freezing night. The snow above their shelter collapsed under its own weight. 4 meters of frozen snow pressed down on their bodies with the force of a car crash. The missing eyes and tongue were almost certainly the work of scavenging animals. Small predators target the soft tissues of exposed faces first. The bodies lay in the ravine for months before anyone found them. But even this explanation leaves questions unanswered. The radiation on the clothing. The strange lights in the photographs. The defensive wounds on their hands. The broken tree branches high above the cedar. Maybe these are coincidences the human mind desperately wants to connect into a pattern. Or maybe something else happened on that mountain. Something we will never fully understand. The Dyatlov Pass incident forces us to confront what we do not know. 9 young people, full of life and experience, stood on a mountainside and looked out at the frozen emptiness. Hours later, they were running for their lives from an invisible threat. We want a villain, or a weapon, or a mistake we can name. But the mountain does not owe us clarity. Zinaida Kolmogorova wrote the last entry in the group's diary. The day had been tiring but beautiful, she said. She mentioned the sun and the snow and the freedom only the wilderness can give. That is the thought that stays with me. Not the theories. Not the injuries. But 9 people who went into the mountains looking for adventure and found something else instead. Something we are still trying to name.